Haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, starting with Yud Zayin Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Again, to get clear what our Gemara is going to say, let's make a picture of the Beis Hamikdash. If a person is entering through the eastern gate into the Azara, the gate of Shar Nikanor, and therefore he's going now west. So as he's going west, first he encounters the Mizbeach, which is going to be on the southern side. That's where the ramp will then lead towards the south. And if he goes forward and he continues west, then he goes to the Ulam, and the Ulam, which is the entranceway into the Heichal. And the Heichal, of course, then goes into the Kodesh Kadoshim. Says the Gemara now, once we have discussed that the Shulchan is situated on the northern side of the Heichal, and there are 10 that were made in addition to the Shulchan, the golden Shulchan of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shlomo HaMelech made an additional 10. They're all situated in the northern side. The Gemara now says, Tani, Mizrach Umarov, Hayu Nesunin Divrei Rebbe. Rebbe says that these Shulchanos were situated from east to west. Now we're talking about where the head of the table then connects to the south of the end of the next table. So there's a line of the Shulchanos that's going from east to west. Now, the diameters of the area that we're talking about in the Heichal is that the Heichal is a total of 40 amos long and 20 amos wide. And then it goes into the Kodesh Kadoshim, which is again another 20 amos long and 20 amos wide. So it comes out that the entire area, the Heichal, together with the Kodesh Kadoshim, is 60 amos long with a width of 20 amos. So the Gemara says, according to Rebbe, when you would take the Shulchan, all of these Shulchanos, and you would situate them from east to west, so there would be enough room from the wall that would be from the Heichal to the Kodesh Kadoshim, and then you would line up all of the Shulchanos until you get to then the middle 20 amos of the Heichal. So that's the opinion of Rebbe. Man da Omar, and Rebbe Eliezer, Rebbe Shimon, Oimer, Tzofoin v'Darom hayu nesunin. They were situated north and south. So Gemara points out that's a problem, because man da Omar mizrach u'marav necha kulhu ru'uyin l'sheirus. According to Rebbe's opinion, that goes from east to west. So we can fit 20 shulchan. We can fit rather the shulchanos, which is each one 2 amos. So we can then situate then across east to west on the northern side. But according to the next opinion of Rebbe Eliezer, Rebbe Shimon, who says they were situated north to south, that's going to be a problem, says the Gemara. Then it's going to come out that you're going to then line up the shulchanos from north to south. It'll then enter, of course, into the southern side. So therefore, that certainly is not going to be a possibility, because again, the shulchanos are 2 amos, and 10 of them would be 20 amos. So those 20 amos from north to south would then encroach, after you get to the 10 amos in the middle, then encroach the southern side, and we know that the shulchan has to be on the northern side. Gemara leaves that as a question. Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, the very top, the first 2 words, Umenar B'Tzofoin, so the Korban Ha'edus is Lo Garsinan. We don't put that in our Girsa, and now the Gemara starts like this. V'hotani HaShulchan. Now the Gemara turns its attention to the Shulchan. This is the other Kli that was in the Heichal, but instead of being in the north, it's opposite the Shulchan on the south side. Says the Gemara, V'hotani HaShulchan haya nosun mechetzi habayis v'lifnim. It says in this brisa that the Shulchan was situated halfway into the bayis and inwards. Mashuch min hakoisil beis amos umechza klape yatzofon. So the shulchan that we were discussing before is on the northern side, and it's going to be 2.5 amos from the wall of the northern side. The menorah is going to be then corresponding on the south side. Umenorah kenegedoi bidarom. The menorah will then be corresponding on the southern side, will be also having 2.5 amos from the wall of the southern side of the Heichal. Mizbach hazohov haya nosum be'emtza habayis. The golden mizbeach, which was used for the kitares, that was placed in the middle of the bayis, of the Heichal. In other words, it would be in between the shulchan and the menorah, but not exactly in between. It would be in between in terms of the space, but not in between, so that you could not, then it would not obstruct the sight from one to the other. And it says over here, Mizbach hazav haya nosum be'emtza habayis choylek es habayis mechetziu v'lefnim. It would separate that bayis, the heichal, into a half, because we said the heichal is 40 amos long, so it would be exactly after 20 amos. Meshoich moshuch kima klape chutz, but it will be a little bit outside. V'kulun hayu nosun mishlish habayis v'lifnim. So in other words, it would be a little bit closer to the entrance, whereby the shulchan and the menorah will be a little bit beyond that. So it won't be exactly, like I said, in between the two. And then it says that would be then nosun mishlish habayis lifnim. It'll be a third of the bayis lifnim, because this is talking about now the entire area with the Kodesh Kadoshim, which we said is 60 amos. So therefore it would be a shlish after the first 20 amos. It'll be situated the golden menorah, the golden mizbeach. Now the Gemara turns its focus again to the menorah. Eser menorahs osa Shlomo. Shlomo Melech made 10 menorahs. This is similar to what we saw before, that he made 10 additional shulchanos. Shneimar says in Pasuk, Vayaz es menorahs hazov eser kimishpotoi. Then the Pasuk says, Vayitein beheichal. He placed it in the heichal. Chamisha miyamin v'chamisha mismol. 5 to the right. That means to say 5 to the north and 5 to the small, which they say to the south. Ask the Gemara, if you're going to say it means 5 to the north and 5 to the south, the menorah is only going to be kosher if it's in the south, and therefore it can't be possible to have menorahs in the north. Shneimar says, it's going to be on the southern side. What does it mean then when it says 5 to the right and 5 to the left? Not like we thought it means 5 to the north and 5 to the south. No. It means in respect to Moshe Rabbeinu's menorah, which of course is in the south, then you're going to have 5 menorahs to the right of that and 5 menorahs to the left, but they'll all be situated in the southern side of the Heichal. Now the Brisa goes on to say, even so, we only kindle the menorah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shneimar says the pasuk, u'menorahs hazov v'neiroseh levar be'erev. The menorah, this golden menorah, and its lamps. Here it's talking about the lamps. Levar be'erev. So here we're talking menorahs hazov. It's singular. So it's referring to the Moshe Rabbeinu's menorah. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Oimer, he's chaylik, and he says, no, al kulon, hayemavir. They would switch and also take turns lighting, kindling the different menorahs. Shenema, he brings a pasuk, ve'es ha-menorahs, here it's plural. V'nerosehem leva'aram, kemishpat lifnei hadvir zohav sogur. That all of these different menorahs would be, lamps would be kindled. This is before the Devir partition, and all the ones that are going to be, and these are the golden that is Sogur. Now, what is it, the golden that's Sogur? It's going to be explained a little bit more, but it means that the gold was so refined that always anybody who wanted to buy gold would buy this type of gold, whereby all the other stores that were selling gold would be closed. So therefore it's referred to as Zov. Sogar really means refined gold. The passage goes on to say, "V'haperach v'haneiros v'amel kolchayim zov hu michlois zov." It describes the menorah as different parts of the menorah, and it says that it ended with zov, michlois zov. Hein, the Gemara explains, kilu zahavoy shel Moshe. It finished the zahav, the gold of Moshe. Again, because it was so refined, then it was so much sought after, whereby everybody would buy that type of gold and not interested in other types of gold. So that refined gold was ultimately finished, it says. Tani, the Gemara brings a brayso, Rabbi Yehuda b'Shemasi, Hayesh loymoi noitel elef kikar ezov. This describes the refinement of the gold for the menorah. He took, it says he took an amount of 1,000 kikar zahav, umachnisin lekur umotzion, and he would put it into the kur, the crucible, to refine them, and he would take it out. Ad shehu ma'amida al echad. From those 1,000 kikar zahav, after purifying, it only came out only one kikar zahav. L'kai mashenimar, like it says in the pasuk, to fulfill kikar zahav tahor oso oiso v'gomer. A kikar zahav was used to make the golden menorah. That's how pure the gold was. Tanya, the Gemara brings a brayso. Amar Rabbi Yosi b'Rabbi Yehuda Maise b'menoras. Now, there's a gears to change over here in the Korban Ha'edah. The Korban Ha'edah says like this: Maise b'menoras ha'mikdosh. That occurred in the menorahs ha'mikdosh. Shahaisa Yesera al menorah she'asa Moshe b'midbar, which it was excessive, was more than that was done by Moshe in the midbar. Of a dinar zahav, it had more of a dinar zahav than it had in Moshe Rabbeinu's menorah. V'hichnisu lekur pei pa'amim, it brought it into the crucible 80 times. V'loy chaser ha'esh mishashiklo, and it didn't come out from its weighing. In other words, it didn't reduce from putting it into the kur so many times. So says the Gemara. V'lo chaser klum. Ask the Gemara, V'yeyus, could this be? Is it possible? Right? We just said before that each time they put 1,000, even only one kikar came out. So you see how much it was reduced. Says Gemara, no, there's a difference. Adeloy yikum al burorei hu chaser sagin. If it has not yet got to its capacity of being completely refined, then a lot comes out is reduced. But mindu kaim al burorei loy chaser klum. But once it gets to the point where it's refined, then it doesn't lose anything. So that's the difference. The Gemara now brings the Mishnah. The next Mishnah is speaking about that which we said in the first Mishnah in the Perek, about 13 different shofaros. There were 13 different types of kupos that were given, different funds that were used and labeled in the following manner. Shlosha asar shofaros hayu b'mikdosh. There were 13 shofaros. And again, we call them shofars, the Gemara explained, because they were narrow in the entrance, in the opening, and then it led to a wide type of space, and that was in order to prevent anybody from stealing from those kupos. So it's called them shofaros. They were 13. The mikdash v'kosav aleim, they were labeled the following: tiklin chadin, new shkolim, v'tiklin atikin, old shkolim, kinin, the pair birds, the goizle oila, the birds of the oila, eitzim, wood was another of the shofar, levoina, frank incense, zohav lichfaros. Here, kfaros means, refers to the clay shares, golden clay shares. This was the fund that was then given for those golden service vessels. Shisha lenedava, and 6 of these shofaros for the nedava were ultimately used to buy korban oilos for the kates mizbeach, when the mizbeach was not in use, and in between there wasn't enough korbanos to be brought. They didn't want the mizbeach to be bottled, so then they have a fund for the communal oila korbanos that were nedava, and they would be then put on the mizbeach. This is the 6 different kupos for the nedava. Now the Mishnah explains each one. Tiklin chadatin shebechol shana v'shana. That's the machzis hashekel that's given every year. Ve'atikin That's Mishalo Hevi Eshtakad Shokel Lishon Habo. One who did not give the previous year, he would add the Machzis HaShekel for this coming year. And this would be then the fund of the Shofar of Tiklin Atikin. The next one is Kinin. That is labeled Kinin. That's referring to Hein Tarin. That's referring to the birds that are turtle doves. Mature turtle doves. The Goizle Oila. And that which was labeled Goizle Oila, Hein B'nei Yoina. These were young B'nei Yoina, young birds, young doves. Kulan Oilois, the Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that these bird offerings of the Kinin and the Goizle Oila, they all go for the Korban Oilois. In other words, he was concerned that if it was for obligatory Korban, like a Chatos, if the person who was then putting in such a kupa would have died before it was brought on his behalf, then it would be mingled with the other coins, and therefore be a problem. It'd have to then not be used. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says that all of this is only for the voluntary offerings, the oilos. The Chachamim oimrim kinin echod chatos ve'echod oila. The Chachamim argue and say we're not concerned about such an event that the person might die, and therefore, according to the Chachamim, instead the kinim, they have one for the chatos and one for the oila. Goizle oila, kulan oilas. When it comes to the goizle oila, then of course we agree that they will all be for the oilas offering. Ha'oimer harei eitzim. The Gemara now goes on. The Mishnah goes on to say that a person who then makes a vow that he's going to say he's going to donate eitzim. So the minimum of eitzim is the plural of 2, and therefore he's chayev lo yifchos mishnei gizrin. He's obligated to then give at least 2 blocks of wood that would then be used typically for the size that are used on the mizbeach. If he makes a vow levoina, he's going to give levoina. Lo yifchos mikoimetz, then he has to give at least a koimetz, which is again like the way the coin is. It takes a shovel, a handful with 3 fingers. So that's going to be the amount that he's obligated to give. Zahav, if he says he's going to then vow giving zahav, lo yifchos midinar zahav, he can't give less than a dinar zahav. Now, a dinar zahav is the smallest type of golden coin. Shisha lenidava. Now that we've said before that of these 13 shayfaros, so 6 of them are for nidava. So 5 of them really are coming from a chatas and an asham offering. And that means to say that if there's extra money beyond that would cost the chatas or the asham offering, then it would be used for the nidava. The 6th one was just the nidava alone. So now the Mishnah explains, nidava, mahayu oisim ba, what would they do with this shofar called nidava? These have 6 of them. Where would these funds go towards? Says the Gemara, loichin ba oilois habosar l'shem va'oirois l'kohanim. So they would be for oilos. In other words, the meat would then be put on the mizbeach for Hashem and be completely burnt. That's the oila offering. And the skins would go to the kohanim. So now the Gemara explains, how do we know, where would you find that indeed, when it comes to the surplus of chatos and asham, they can be used for the oila, so that the kohanim will actually get the skins, and the meat will then be put on the mizbeach. In a typical asham, that's not the case. So the Gemara says like this: Ze medrash dorash Rabbi Yehoyada Kohen Gadol. Yehoyada Kohen Gadol, in the time of Bayis Rishon, he made the following drasha. It says Oshem hu, Oshem laHashem. So on the one hand, it says Oshem hu. It's a korban Oshem, which would mean that the meat goes to the Kohen. And then it says it's an Oshem laHashem, but it goes to Hashem. So how do we then put the two together? Explains. Ze klal kol shehu ba mishum chatos umishum ashma. Whatever comes as a result of the chatos and an osham, that means to say the surplus, yilkach bohen oilos, you'll buy with that surplus a korban oila. Then we can then put the 2 psukim together and say that the additional money, the surplus of those osham, and also the chatas too, they will take it to then buy the oila, whereby the meat will go to Hashem, and the oros will go to the kohanim as follows: habasa l'Hashem v'ha'oros l'kohanim. Habasa l'Hashem because it's a korban oilo, and the oros will go to kohanim, so it's like an osham. In that sense too, even though he doesn't get the meat, but he gets the oros like the other oilos. He does get the oros. He gets the skins. Nimtzu shnei ksuvim kayomin. Now you can explain the two psukim that seem to be contradictory. Oshem la Hashem, v'oshem la kohen. Again, oshem la Hashem is referring to the oilo, that the meat will go up to Hashem, and the oshem la kohen, that the skins, the oros, will go to the kohen, so that it's like an oshem. So it doesn't get the meat of the oshem, but he gets the oros as well. V'oimer kesef oshem v'kesef chatos lo yuvo beis Hashem l'kohanim yu. And the Gemara now says, how do we know indeed that this was Yehoyada's drasha, that this source for that? Because it says that kesef oshem v'kesef chatos lo yuva beis Hashem l'kohanim yu. They wouldn't bring the kesef, the oshem, and the kesef of the chatos to the beis Hashem. Rather, it would be given to the kohanim. Now, how could that be? If we're talking about the funds, the kesef that was for a chatos and an osham that has to go towards a korban. Elamai, we must be talking about this surplus. And the surplus, he says, therefore, not doesn't go to the classical chatos and the osham, but rather it goes to the kohanim. Namely, they'll get it as an oila, that they'll get the skins, the oros of the korban oila.